feed us this stuff and begins to give us a false sense of hope. In Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 17, he tells us these things. He says, "This I say therefore, testify in the Lord, that we should no longer walk as the rest of the Gentiles walk in the futility of their mind." Now the word Gentile means world. Anybody who's not a Christian, a worldly person. He said, listen, don't walk the way they walk, in the futility of just their mind, thinking that just if I can just mentally get over it, I will be over it. It has to do with the thought, but it's also got some will and it's got some emotions connected to it, and so the world will pollute us. The third thing is, the third source of our problems can be, your problems will confuse you. We get confused over the problems that are going on in our life. And when I start to have a problem, it confuses me to what reality is, and therefore I cannot make a rash decision in how to overcome it. Because when my problem arises, I don't know about you, but sometimes it feels like it just comes out of the ground like a storm. Like Jack and the Beanstalk. I mean, you ever watch Jack and the Beanstalk? He throws the 3 beans and suddenly it just breaks and goes to the heavens. We just feel like, well, I'd say this, really no problem unless it's just a sudden moment, tragic event. No problem ever just showed up in an instant. It was already there. It was just building up over time to where it became major in our life. There was little scenarios and signs and things like that that will say it's coming, and then suddenly when it's a big problem, we suddenly recognize, whoa, this thing is big. And so it begins to confuse me. Even David struggled with that. Look in Psalm chapter 10 and verse 1. It's so amazing that what began to take place and then he would end it praising God. And in Psalm chapter 10 and verse 1, he says, "Why do you stand afar off, O Lord? Why do you hide in times of trouble?" He said, "I got a problem here, God, and you're hiding out." Then in verse 17, "Lord, you heard the desire of the humble. You will prepare their hearts. You will cause your ear to hear." One minute, David said, "I got a problem." And where are you, God? And the next minute he's going, "Lord, you're in control. I'm trusting in you." Anybody following this? You see, our problems confuse us because we're trying to decide, God, are you there or you ain't there? Maybe you're there. I hope you're around somewhere anyhow. God, I tried to text you and you ain't responded to my text yet. Because I can't hear you on the way. I even sent you a Facebook request and you ain't been my friend yet. I'm surprised somebody ain't put a Jesus Facebook up there. Has anybody found that? Yes, I knew they would be. I bet there's a double one. Don't look for either one of them, okay? Please. We get so confused over it. And that's the way David was. He was struggling with the good, the bad, and the ugly. And he was trying to figure himself out. And this is not up on the screen here, but if you were to skip over a couple of chapters in Psalms chapter 13, in the first verse he said, "How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me?" And it's just 6 verses in the chapter, and by the 6th verse he said, "I will sing to the Lord, because he's dealt bountifully with me." One minute he's going, "Lord, how long are you going to stay out there? How long are you going to ignore my text messages, my Facebook requests, and my emails? Lord, how long?" I'm just putting it in modern day terminology. And then he goes, "Lord, I'm going to sing to you anyhow." He's got this confusing going on. That's what the world does. And we struggle with it. You see, we will never change the way we think until we begin to change our mind, until we begin to change our thinking. It's a mental warfare going here. Now, I think there are some problems that come from, if you're writing down notes, write this down, problems that come from unresolved issues. Sometimes our problems, they come into our life from unresolved issues. In other words, there's things in our life that has happened to us, happened around us, and they're unresolved, and therefore it brings depression into our life. How do I know? Because I've seen it. And there's 3 of them. I'm just going to hit on them. One unresolved issue could be a trauma, physically or emotionally. That trauma could be physically abused, sexually, or just beat. There are many people who, when they have been through some kind of physical trauma, they struggle with depression because of that lingering of what took place. Many of them sometimes begin to feel guilty, like it was their own fault. If they hadn't been there, if this hadn't happened, and they struggle with it. It's an unresolved issue that God's got to heal. And then there are those who struggle with trauma emotionally. That maybe in their growing up years they were constantly beat down verbally. They were constantly beat down socially. Everybody was constantly working on them too emotionally. There's unresolved issues. I'm not a psychologist licensed in any way. And I tell people real quickly when they want to counsel with me, there's a certain level I can go to. But there's others I believe that are more trained and equipped to go further. But I have discovered just in my time that most every person I've ever talked to, when they're struggling with something that has to deal with depression and addiction, it comes to an issue of something that has happened in their life that they have never totally surrendered it to God. And they've never totally dealt with it. I know this is heavy stuff, but it's real. Listen, it's as real as the cup of coffee that you drank this morning. It's as real as the glass of water you drank. It's as real as anything else. It's just caught up in here. It's just not in our hands. Y'all with me this morning? See, we're coming to a place of freedom, but we got to deal with the real issue. Another unresolved issue is disappointments. We've been disappointed so many times that we've never dealt with the issue that, hey, I can still be what God wants me to be, no matter how many times other people have disappointed me. I know for a fact that people can hinder the process. Amen? I've hindered others, and others have hindered me. But who am I trusting? Am I going to live the rest of my life going, well, so-and-so failed me, and so-and-so failed me, and so-and-so failed me, and this failed me, and that failed me, so I'm just going to quit and get depressed over it? Or am I going to say, greater is He who is in me than this which is in the world around me? Am I going to set my mind on there's perfect peace if I just trust in God? He is there with me. And I'm going to put my heart and my mind to follow after Him regardless. If my friends leave me, yes, it will disappoint me. But I'm not going to live the rest of my life confessing to everybody that my friends left me and I'm just stuck in this world's nothingness. So it can be disappointments. And the third thing about unresolved issues is abandonment. That sometimes there are people who have been abandoned. They've been abandoned emotionally, physically, and relationally. And I'm talking about abandoned, I'm talking about left out there to nothing. And to live on their own. We had a young man who worked with us for only just about 3 or 4 weeks. The very first day, I know his actually, I guess you call it his stepbrother or adopted brother, real good Christian guy. When I was talking to this young man, and I said, and I named his brother's name, and I'm just trying to keep it as confidential as I can. I don't know if they'd ever see this or not, but I don't want to embarrass them anyway. But I said, now, do you know Nathan? I said, now what is Nathan to you? And he very quickly, he said, oh, he's my adopted brother. We're not any fleshly kin. You can probably tell by our resemblance. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. I said, that ain't the way I was communicating this. I said, I didn't say you didn't look like them. I said, here's the deal. Not every brother and sister looks like.
That's right.
If you put my 3 sisters together, maybe me and one of my sisters probably look similar. Tammy says me and my older sister look just alike when we put our glasses on our nose. And we both got that wisdom coming out real good, called gray hair. But I said, whoa, I said, yeah, Carla, she's the one found in the turnip patch. She was alone. No. I love you, Carla. I love you. But what I was trying to get to, and one point I'm trying to bring home here is that he immediately began to defend himself. That I ain't part of this family, but I'm there only by adoption. And he immediately began to say to me, my mama, I reckon, wanted a nursing degree more than she wanted me. And he worked with us about 3 weeks. And listen, he just graduated high school. And he could no longer work with us because when my boss checked his driving record, because we drive Dallas Drilling Equipment, he had so many points, he couldn't hardly ride a bicycle legally. He's owned over 10 vehicles. I ain't owned 10 vehicles in my life. And he spent his whole life disappointed because he was abandoned by his mama. But yet, I know some of his family, and they're good, Christian, loving people. They've adopted over 10 children. But yet he still feels abandoned, and he's living his life telling everybody else his problems. And one day he'll deal with depression one way or the other. And he's going to have to recognize there's a healer. Are you following me here this morning? So abandonment can be an unresolved issue. And I'm going to say this. You can know your mama, your daddy, your brothers, your sisters, your aunt, your uncles, and your grandparents, and you can still feel abandoned by them even though you know who they are. Especially if they did not invest in your life in the way we thought they should have invested in us. I know it's kind of heavy, but we're going somewhere. You can look in the Bible, and great men and women experienced it. Elijah, he called fire down from heaven, consumed a great sacrifice, seen God do a mighty miracle. You read one chapter over in 1 Kings 19, and he's running and he's hiding. And if you'll read 1 Kings 19, around the 4th or 5th verse, he's looking at God and said, God, kill me. Because there ain't nobody left good but me. I'm done with this. I mean, he just called fire down, folks. I'd be pretty excited. How about y'all? But he's struggling with a depression of abandonment. Because Jezebel said, I'm going to kill you this time tomorrow. And he began to believe the lie of the devil more than the promise of God, even after God just done a great miracle. I got to throw something in here. I just been checked. You can write this on your calendar. You can go back at your history and look. I will almost guarantee you that after every great victory or great thing you've ever done for God, right after that there will come a moment when you're going to be attacked by the devil. And it will either spiral you down or either it will hold you steady. I've seen it. Are y'all with me here right now? Read in the Bible. You'll find it in their lives and you'll find it in yours. Because when you do something great for God, the devil goes, whoa, he or she's dangerous. And I've even see it even recently. Because when you do something great for God, the devil's automatically going to attack. That was a free point. That didn't cost you anything. Right? So I didn't have that in the notes, so that don't cost you anything. I only charge you for what I got written down. Okay? You owe me 50 cents today, Denise, instead of 25. I'm picky with her. I'm picky with her. Private joke. So let me bring this to a close this morning. As we're dealing with this thing called depression, how do we change? How do we get free? We will never change the way we think till we change our mindset, till we change our thoughts. So how do we do that? 3 quick things. They're not deep. They're not something you probably haven't heard, but just something that needs to be reminded. Hebrews says, let us remember those things which we have learned, at least at any time we let them slip away from us. And I'm going to tell you, the simplest things in our life can easily get away from us. Number 1 is prayer. We've got to pray. You'll hear this repeated through this whole series. We got to pray. Remember last week we said the 2 things will help us over